there are artists who are the product of their times. Peggy Gou is the product of today's time. The values she's standing for, the sound she has evolved to feels just right for today.
I guess the timeless question remains for both artists and the audience that what is originality? Ultimately, any form of art throughout history was derived from something, right?
There is a philosophical argument here. There is this book, The Art of War. There is a professional artist and there is an amateur artist. And the origin of that word amateur itself is love, amore. The difference between the amateur and professional is an amateur very deeply loves his work and is sometimes even over possessive. The professional, while deliberate and intentional, are very casual. They don't take their work very seriously. I think that's the vibe that Peggy also gives at some level. Very relaxed, casual.
Welcome guys to another episode of Music Gravy. I am Akhil. With me there is Varun and Yasir. So each time I think we have to pick a topic. We are confused. Should we pick something that we know from the past? Rock, Bollywood, Sufi, Qawwali, or should we pick up something trending? Today we are trying to pick something which is both. It's a very interesting song, probably the song of this year, 2023, which is being played all over the clubs, party places, lounges. And that's where I also heard a tune. I was sitting in a lounge waiting and there was this tune which was playing and I was curious ये क्या चल रहा है मतलब it was irritating कि ये सुना हुआ भी लग रहा है but you know which song is it, like it sometimes I felt it was song A, sometimes I felt it was song B, sometimes it was like song C, but it was none of them. But it was catchy and it stuck in my mind. I came back home and searched for it and I found the song, and apparently this is the most trending song right now. And let's build up the mood and start with playing this song. The song is by Peggy Gou and goes like na 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 na. Let's hear the song.
She is singing the song also, and she is the producer.
Yes.
Or what?
Oh. So yeah, Peggy Gou is a very interesting producer, DJ, singer, and a fashion icon. And her journey has been quite interesting. She was born in South Korea. She went to London, apparently to study English when she was 14. She came back and she told her parents, no, I actually want to get into fashion. And she went to London School of Fashion when she was 18. And while studying fashion, she picked up DJing and she started doing small gigs in London. And it picked up for her. And we always talk about the right place, right time. And she seemed to be at the right places at the right age. From London, she moved to Berlin and she started producing music. Like I remember I and Yasir were talking about Ableton. I think she discovered Ableton around 2002 or 3. And she started playing around started creating a few tracks. And yeah, slowly she picked up and multiple factors have gone into it. And if I look at it, there are few reasons I feel why she has clicked and why particularly this song has clicked. And this song clearly has a 90s vibe, shamelessly. I mean, it's very direct. In fact, Peggy Gou clearly says, I'm not saying कि I have created this. This is the song number 1, song number 2. And मैंने इनसे ये गाना inspire किया and this is how I made it. I think that nostalgic, catchy vibe is clearly success for this particular song. But there is a history behind how she has come to this stage. We'll talk more about it. But let's look at the breakdown of this song. I'm sure we are curious कि बार बार कह रहे कि song 1, 2, 3. What are those songs? We can have a like quick look at that also.
Kisses of the sun was sweet, I didn't blink, I let it in my eyes.
One more time.
I got a feeling that I can't erase. Kisses of the sun was sweet, I didn't blink, I let it in my eyes.
This is very interesting, huh?
Good old 90s.
And has she acknowledged these three building blocks of the song? She has.
Oh, yeah.
She like doesn't specifically says ki song number 1, 2, and 3, but she says ki okay, those who are wondering where if I had any inspiration for this song, and then she goes and plays the original.
Like she's done a small reel with her on the keyboards exactly on this point.
I'm sharing that. Yeah.
And yes, you're right. This was inspiration.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I think social media has done to the music scene, right? Like Beatles would never have access and chance to go on their Insta page and just tell their listeners of what is inspiring them for their most popular song from the last album. But there are now brave artists. I mean, brave is an interesting word, but there are now artists who are very honest and open about their music. And they are saying, yes, you like it. Obviously, you've heard this kind of a sound somewhere. And this is what inspired me. So, big deal.
Absolutely. And I feel she brings two worlds together, apart from like her singing and the core content itself. In terms of her style and personality and her aura, there are two parts. One part is the modern part, which is leveraging social media, having all the modern sensibilities. जो फरीद अयाज वाला डिस्कशन था एग्जैक्टली उसका ऑपोजिट कि how if you look at her videos, how she connects with different communities, how she stands up for female artists, and very very strong inclusive tone in her videos, in her songs, in the themes that she's picking up. And one of the modern sensibilities is about being honest and transparent, right, and being authentic. There is no curtain or wall between the audience and the artist today, thanks to social media. And it takes a certain level of comfort doing that. Not everybody is very comfortable doing that. And I think I've seen a lot of her reels and she seems to be very comfortable being very direct, engaging with her audience. Like wherever she's going, Uber के अंदर भी जब drive कर रही है, flight से उतर रही है, going to a concert, she's talking to her audience. Yeah, I'm going here, and like she's comfortable. वो makeup चल रहा है उसका, साथ में she's talking to her audience कि आज शाम को हम लोग यहाँ पे live जाने वाले हैं. तो just being comfortable with a new platform throughout your routine, I think that's something a new age artist can do. Not everybody in the past could have done easily. So this is the modern part. At the same time, the other thing, and it's related to the modern sensibility also, right? Ki now the world is inclusive enough. She doesn't need to be a Caucasian white. While she has some style elements around that, but a lot of her songs have Korean words. They are around themes about mythology and stories which she would have heard as a child in Korea. जो हमारी रामायण महाभारत है, right? Similarly, there are some folk stories. And in fact, one of her first tracks was around that theme, and she started having her own sound around those themes. Her first big hit was Starry Night. That also had a very famous Korean star, and it was more towards K-pop. And now she has evolved to discover, okay, this nostalgic themes even works better. But she is able to bring her authentic self, her own background, her own history, and not just blindly saying कि मैं Berlin में हूँ, London में हूँ, तो let me just create that kind of sound. So she's able to blend the two worlds, her own authentic self and the modern sensibilities, and I think that's what
works. Yeah,
makes her so popular.
Nice, very interesting. And for Yasir, how did you discover her? Like,
so by the way, very nicely put, Deepak. And how did I discover it? I happen to have in my dance music playlist, there was a Peggy Gou track called I Don't Care. And it was an interesting take on the house sound. I was collecting house music for that playlist. And it was an interesting take on the different house tracks I was finding back from, say, the 90s, 2000s, and the current sounds. I guess to begin with, her vocal delivery is closer to, say, a spoken word than singing, right? She has a kind of a casual take on delivering the vocals, which maybe clicks with the Gen Z audience very well.
I totally agree. I think that vocal delivery, and what she has done again is to put a lot of visuals with the delivery and a style to that. Let me just play a small thing to emphasize this. Like, there is a style, a statement that she makes when she speaks.
Her vocal delivery kind of emulates how normal people, maybe her fans, are going to sing her songs, and maybe that makes it all the more easier to sing along to her songs, because it doesn't take one probably to be very much trained to perform these songs. And she definitely has made the best out of being a person in the internet era, being an artist in the internet era. So kind of like the equivalent of direct to customer, direct to fan being the future of music anyways, as many industry experts also say.
D2F.
Yeah. So it's the D2C car, D2F.
Direct to fan.
Yeah. And especially in times when
Yasir, you can claim this. You can claim the copyright. You coined this term, DTF.
Music gravy, yeah. So, and authenticity, of course, is important in the internet era. An artist can't get away with finding inspiration from some very familiar sounds and centering their entire act around it and not acknowledging it. That's, I guess, no more possible. So it's great that she's so transparent and upfront about it.
And I think that Insta video that you saw before, where that guy is broken down that song, that will happen irrespective of if the artist chooses to be open or not, right? I mean, if the song goes super popular, people will try to go behind the scenes and what inspired, how did it happen, how did the lyrics get inspired, and all kinds of things, right? So that will happen. It actually gives more power to the artist if they own it and say this is what it is, right?
It's almost like she, by making that reel herself, where she's telling her fans about her inspiration, she made the other guy's video redundant in a sense.
It's interesting, right? But it's like it's hard for a lot of artists to do. It's not natural for them.
Yeah.
So one of the interesting things is that her father was a journalist, right? And after doing her fashion course, she worked for Harper Magazine, which is a fashion magazine. So she has that background and experience in communication, right? How to build a story, build a direct line of communication with the audience. She has that background, and very few artists have that. And why I'm saying that, like, I was just thinking of this conversation and in a way about AP Dillon and how he has been mocked of late. And I don't think he's speaking up. The only thing
Yeah.
he spoke up is post Khalistan thing, right? That I am not coming on social media anymore because there are a couple of Canadian artists who tried to come to India and their show was cancelled recently. And he doesn't want to be bracketed with them. He says कि हम कुछ भी बोलते हैं, these guys will misuse it or give a political twist.
Correct.
So handling social media is not easy. And
No.
hats off to her. And fortunately, she has a background around that, and that maybe it comes in family. She would have seen that closely. So she's able to communicate and communicate well.
And I think what I find mesmerizing is the whole persona that goes with the music. It's very relaxed. There is no airs about it. She's completely inked on both hands, and so very fashionist kind of a dressing also. And all of that put together is a very interesting persona. Even if you don't know much about her, when you look at her, she is someone interesting, right? Like someone who is doing interesting stuff, irrespective
Very
of her
expressive.
fame. Yeah.
Another thing that comes to my mind, and I was reading that early in her career, when she moved to Berlin, her fashion sense was a negative point for her because people were not taking her music seriously. It's like she looked good, she had a sense of fashion, so she was being taken aback because of that. Ki yaar, because of her look, she's getting gigs. It's not because of her music. And in hindsight, many of these things look good. Even the casual singing, it can easily be seen कि इसको गाना नहीं आता. She's just talking. But fortunately, today there is a direct platform where she can show her music to the audience, and that clicks. And in hindsight, her sense of fashion, her background in communication, her casual singing style, all these look good. Or even inspired music. शायद उसको भी, if she would have taken it to a label in the past, she would have said, okay, where is the original sound? This looks old. This doesn't work today. This is 90s music. Show us something new or something fresh. So when it has clicked, it's easy to say, these things work for her. But if she brings this on the table initially, it's easy to rule those things out also.
And I think she is trying to do this out of Berlin. And by the way, the Berlin music scene, like nightlife, whatever, is extremely underdressed. Like I remember in Berlin, if you have to go to like a nightclub, our friends had told us that, boss, like it's not Gurgaon, it's not Mumbai. You don't need to wear a dress, especially for girls. You don't need heels. Wear heels, they will not let you in. Guys need to look like basically run down. They don't care much. And you have to be extremely casual. The more casual and chill you are, completely underdressed, you don't care about getting in that place at all. That's the vibe that works in Berlin. Like that's how you get into places. And I can totally imagine with her style statement, she appearing like this in Berlin scene, people will like, what the hell is wrong with this person? Because an average musician in Berlin probably is, yes, inked and pierced, but the dressing has nothing. Like it's literally
just
black clothes.
Denim.
Exactly. Just like the most simple rugged clothes you can wear, right? So for her to do that is pretty interesting.
Brings to mind back in Moscow, we were just looking to explore some of the places, and the clubs we had just ruled out because we were in our tourist attire, t-shirts, shorts and all, and it was out of question. It was almost like you need a tuxedo to get into those places, and Berlin seems to be quite the opposite as you.
Oh, 100%. And by the way, the other interesting thing about Berlin is, if you show up at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock at a Berlin nightclub, it would not even be open. Like the guy who opens the club will show up after you probably, and then it will, and then slowly it starts ramping up, and then the peak is probably around dawn, 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and then yeah, that's the kind of scene.
On the previous conversation when we were saying ki modern sensibilities, sense वगैरह है, plus her authentic self, so I'll just play a 30 seconds of her first track where her brand was called DJ Kicks. She had like branding of DJ Kicks. It's
so
a
she
song
was
called
playing a
Hungboo.
DJ Kick session.
She called herself DJ Kicks, really?
No. DJ Kicks, you can think of it as a platform that various electronic artists or dance music producers would have their DJ Kicks ka session.
But her like first set of original tracks or remixes, that album is called DJ Kicks. And this is a song called Hungboo. Hungboo is a famous Korean folklore character. Let's hear this.
Wow, very nice, Gupak. This goes straight into my playlist.
It was really good.
Very enjoyable.
When the beat picked up is really nice.
I didn't play the full track, but it like moves up. It has those ebbs and flows, and it suddenly transports you into that old Korean folklore story, literally. At the same time, her vocals bring that modern feel to it. So beats bhi aa rahi hai, and that very interesting and quite rich. Like the variety of sounds in this track was very interesting.
Nice.
Love it.
So we have touched upon in our Peggy Gou session today, artists disclosing their influences and inspiration, like akin to a magician disclosing how they are doing the magic trick at the risk of whether there is a magic trick anymore after that or not. And kudos to all the artists and Peggy Gou who are transparent and upfront and unapologetic about their inspirations. Comes to mind something I was thinking about Nirvana yesterday, actually. So I was thinking about how Kurt was so brave in calling out Nirvana's inspiration from the Pixies. Even his last interview on the boat, he is talking about how they were three guys influenced by Pixies and they were just trying to create that kind of a sound, and came out Nirvana. So he was talking about his influences in a time when probably not many other artists were doing that. To think of it, a lot of the success of classic rock legacy acts like Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, they can owe it to black blues musicians, right? So this actually came to mind when In Bloom just randomly shuffled on my playlist, and it happens to be probably one of my most favorite Nirvana tracks. You know, I mean, it just sticks with me. He's the one who likes all their pretty songs, but he don't know what it
likes
means.
To sing along, but he knows not what it means.
And the music video of it, probably that was, I can't recall a music video before Nirvana's In Bloom music video from '92, which was taking aesthetics of a previous era. They were using the aesthetics of 60s television shows where artists would be smiling all the time. It would be very clean cut, and there would be like nice boys performing on the TV. And the video begins like that, and in the end it gets into Nirvana things where they are tearing apart all their gear and equipment and everything. And it's such a statement to make as an artist, where in terms of the lyrics, they are talking about how their fans are singing along, but they don't necessarily understand what it means.
I remember, I think Kurt Cobain in one of his interviews did say that this was in a way, parodic statements on Smells Like Teen Spirit. It became suddenly a radio hit. Correct. And very few people understood the lyrics, and they were picking up just one or two words. Yeah. And In Bloom this statement actually refers to those fans who like Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Correct. And it's not even in a tone of mocking the fan that you don't understand this trick we are playing on you. It's more about calling out the irony that they have just blown up so big across the world in the 90s with their essentially the first proper album.
There is a philosophical argument here, and I want to bring up this very interesting point that is there in this book called The Art of War. And it's a book about how artists should approach their art. Doesn't matter which kind of an artist, painter, songwriter, whatever you do, whatever you call art. It can be even a professional, like a working professional who calls whatever he does as a salesman, for example. That's his art. And he talks about how artists should approach art. There's one interesting point there. There is a professional artist, and then there is an amateur artist. And amateur, that the origin of that word amateur itself is love, amore, and amateur, that same root word. So the origin is love, that I am an amateur, but I love this thing, I'm into it. And then there is a professional, and the author says the difference between the amateur and professional is an amateur very deeply loves his work and is sometimes even over possessive with it. The professional, while he is deliberate and intentional and practiced all of that, but they are very casual about they don't take their work very seriously, like there is no like ego around the work. You create something, you put it out in the ether and let people figure it out and make what they want of it. So the same vibe, like when you were talking about Nirvana, I get up from them, like they were there to create music that they enjoyed, and whoever and that's a professional artist. Same with Peggy.
And the fame and success happened to be.
Same with, I think that's the vibe that Peggy also gives at some level, very relaxed, casual. Hey, I enjoyed and inspired from these tracks. I put some similar things together. I enjoyed this music. I put it out. Hopefully people like it, right? Maybe it's that part is also thought through and deliberate. I don't know. But it appears to give that same vibe. And I think the artists who are afraid to talk about their original inspiration, like prime example our own Anu Malik, who literally copy Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V songs, just language translation was applied.
So maybe multiple versions of Macarena, and I actually happen to like a couple of them.
So, no, we all like some of those songs when they came out, right? Pehli Nazar Mein Aisa Jadoo Kar Liya, and Anu Malik's entire, some of the album, literally all songs were copied. Correct. Okay. Exactly. Okay. The whole album.
Ting, ting, ting. Childhood time.
Literally everything was copied. Those are the artists who are ashamed of not letting this come out, because it's literally a one-to-one copy. I don't think any artist who genuinely got inspired from anybody, doesn't matter popular or not popular, it's okay to say what the rough inspiration was, I think. Who's genuinely a professional.
I would also argue that maybe they are not ashamed. It was just ki,
the times
if
were
they
such.
say it out, that was a time ki, if they say it out loud, people will not appreciate it as much.
Yeah, not take them
people
seriously.
People will say, "Acha, tumne copy kara." A copy thing was looked down upon versus being say, "Okay, you have done justice to it."
Very interesting.
So it's hard to
point.
say. But because we have not met Anu Malik or Pritam or these guys.
No.
Maybe they might be joking about it.
Maybe, but the thing is this.
Circles.
The thing is this. We spoke about this in the episode, Needle Drop episode, of how directors give a mood to a music director, and they tell them, can you create something around this, right?
Correct.
Now my hunch is after Anu Malik got that brief to say, create some song around this scene where Amir Khan is going to do XYZ and whatever, Anu Malik went to find some obscure
Crate digging. Some crate digging.
crate digging, exactly. He went crate digging, and he probably had a list of songs somewhere which he liked, which were not popular in India. And he picked a few songs out of there and said, "Oh, this is the dhun I want to create. Director Saab, do you like
But
it?"
इसको कहाँ use करे?
Exactly.
नहीं, literally. तो मतलब I remember college में when I first pick up the first Deep Purple album, Best of Deep Purple. सारे गाने सुने हुए थे मैंने, thanks to Anu Malik. मतलब पूरी एल्बम मैंने सुनी हुई थी. But at the same time, like I was hearing a Bappy the interview some time back, and he was very vocal about his inspiration and that how he went to California to those disco clubs and got inspired and created
Exactly.
that town.
Exactly.
And very few people today will believe जो Bappy da की first few albums हैं where he's doing very traditional, almost R.D. Burman kind of, like जैसे चलते चलते का म्यूजिक पप्पी लहरी ने दिया 70s में, चलते चलते मेरे गीत याद रखना, ये सारे गाने we don't मतलब connect with Bappy Lahiri. Like there are a lot of very classic songs he has made. So he's, I think, an accomplished musician. But at that time, disco clicked for him at that moment of time for a few years, and then he got feedback, and that he just brought disco to the Bollywood
He
scene and
doubled down
mastered
on
it.
Yeah.
I doubled down it, and tab I think those immediate feedback loop with customers or the fans, DTU, I think was not there for him to really tell the audience ki dekho whom I inspired. I don't think he was ashamed about it from one or two interviews that I heard.
Yeah.
Other people, obviously, you never know. Ki they might be claiming this is their own music. And in fact, if you watch Akele Hum Akele Tum, how the big music producers were feeding off of smaller artists,
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
global artists. So it's
Correct.
quite likely they were hiding the fact ki where their music is coming from.
Correct.
At the same time, I'm sure there are music producers, had they had a platform at that time, they would have probably talked about it.
Funny as Dr. Dre, right? over copyright of his music. But nonetheless, yeah. So I'm a big Bappy Da fan myself. So
So I think one of the things which is interesting is Peggy Gou connecting to the audience by creating that nostalgic sound. But like I feel that what she's doing is also part of probably a bigger trend, and there are few other artists who are trying to recreate that 90s sound.
Indeed. And another artist does come to mind, PinkPantheress. She is based out of US at the moment, but she grew up in UK. So she has that nostalgia connection with the UK sound of the 90s, which she tries to emulate. Her approach is more on the side of sampling pieces from the 90s UK garage sounds, two-step kind of sounds. An example of how in the TikTok era, artists quickly blowing up onto the scene. So this is PinkPantheress's Mosquito.
On a Monday, can I see you? Can I check my numbers? 'Cause I want to. I know it's annoying how much I do. Spending you the day that I want. The day that I want. Another day then. Maybe Tuesday. Can I spend a fortune? 'Cause I want to. I know it's appalling how I lose you. Spending every day that I want. The day that I want. What happened to me? 'Cause I just had a dream I was dead. And I only cared 'cause I was taken from you. You're the only thing that I own.
I was just reading about PinkPantheress, and the TikTok point you were making, I think it's interesting because apparently she was just putting songs on her TikTok which she was creating when she was a university student, and I think one of the songs
Exactly.
went viral.
Yeah, and she has more than 1 million subscribers at the moment, and this song, which released just days ago, is just blowing up in terms of its views. Let's listen to another PinkPantheress track, which is called Pain, revival of the 90s UK garage sound.
It's 8 o'clock in the morning
So that was PinkPantheress's Pain. And now I would like to play this track, which is a banger from the late 90s. I think this released in the year 2000. This is Flowers by Sweet Female Attitude. This is like a legend track from the late 90s and such similarities in terms of the sound. Actually, she samples this track in Pain.
It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Now I'm entering my bed. Had a few dreams about you. I can't tell you what we did. I'll bring you flowers.
I quite like the PinkPantheress background also. It's interesting. Mother is black, carer, and father is a statistics professor. But older brother works as an audio engineer, and that's the family background she comes from. And I think it looks like she's a star by chance. She was just trying to create some music she enjoyed, putting it on TikTok, and then it just went crazy viral. So
Yeah. Her collab with New York-based rapper Ice Spice, Boys a Liar Part 2, that really went big this year, and it seems Mosquito is to do the same as well. So we are seeing this revival of 20 years ago, 30 years ago sounds happening across various different genres. In case of Peggy Gou, it was the classic 90s house sound, which is 4 on the floor, basically 4 kick drum beats in a bar. And let me just share my screen. So this is an Ableton window, and so you see here how this is the basic structure of most of house music, really. There's 4 kick drums to the bar. And after every kick drum is a hi-hat, and on every second kick drum is a snare or a mid-range percussion element. It could be a snare, a rim shot, a clap, whatever. So this essentially is the core structure of it. And we can add anything else, more percussive elements to it. But it's amazing to see that so much of music in the past few decades is built on something so simple.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And that's why probably the older generation musicians who were creating sound using instruments, they always look down upon कि यार इसमें कुछ है नहीं, or like it's just beats. But also I feel कि like in the tracks which I really picked off, this bass is there, but at the top of that, through piano or through some other instrument,
It's a fresh
there is
twist.
there is a hook or a chorus which you recall.
Indeed.
Correct.
And that's what I feel about so many of these breakdown videos. If I was to just search for how to sound like Peggy Gou, and we'll find tons of those videos. But a breakdown doesn't necessarily take away the magic of it. I mean, still there is some fresh twist to what they are doing, which is why it is being celebrated like how it is. Another point, by the way, which I was looking to touch upon while we were discussing Peggy Gou, one was her approach to vocals, the casual approach to vocals, almost in a humming kind of a way, sing along kind of a way, and not giving it that kind of seriousness or technicality. The other one was how we touched upon that she comes from a fashion background, happens to be a fashion icon as well. If we look at 2023 Peggy Gou on social media, we would find her there at most of the prominent fashion shows across the globe, be it Paris, be it London. She's there throughout. This also is an interesting phenomena in the sense how all these boundaries have blurred between various different art disciplines. Like today, most of the A-lister mainstream pop stars they would usually be having some fashion line. Look at Rihanna, look at Drake, all of them really. And maybe this somewhere in the last 2 decades goes back to Kanye West. Love or hate the guy, but he was particular from the get-go during the 2000s about his fashion sense, about his desire to get involved in fashion, and ended up designing a sneaker line for Adidas. Has been a prominent figure in the fashion world for the last decade or so at least. And probably Kanye was that big milestone after which we see so many of today's pop stars being into multiple disciplines.
Like the point is absolutely clear. I mean, like most artists are doing many things beyond just music, and I think Peggy Gou is a great example. I think what this discussion today does is two things. One is it introduces us to two phenomenal artists. One is Peggy Gou, and then of course PinkPantheress. And then I feel we touched upon some very interesting elements around why authenticity matters, and then also how bringing the old tunes back to make it relevant to the time today, and it can be honest inspiration that you draw from some great musics and great artists of the past.
Totally. And like there are artists who are the product of their times. And I think Peggy Gou is the product of today's time, where
She's the moment.
the values she is standing for, the
Yeah.
sound she has evolved to feels just right for today. We have seen her journey from,
Correct.
pure kung fu style music to K-pop to 90s, and that cycling of music and is probably
Absolutely.
that she was able to recognize it well.
And absolutely, and kudos to Peggy and also PinkPantheress to just be so multicultural woman coming from such diverse backgrounds and just embodying in today's times, that whole diversity
Making the most
plus
of their heritage.
exactly, just keeping it at the forefront of the music and art they are creating. I think that calls another kudos to what they are trying to do. So
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
And just
Sure.
my signing off thought that I guess a timeless question remains for both artists and the audience that, what is originality? Ultimately, any form of art we can see throughout history was somewhere derived from something, right? It was inspired by something. So, taking inspiration in art is not something new. It's not a 2020s phenomena. It was happening 1,000 years ago. It was happening as long as humans have been creating art. And maybe it's in the last, specific to music, in the last couple of decades, things have opened up. Conversations have opened up around acceptance of sampling and remixing, basically recontextualizing existing art and giving it a new meaning. And
Yeah.
no wonder we see Peggy Gou actualizing a late 90s house hit into something new for 2023, and we see a PinkPantheress recontextualizing UK garage of the late 90s into something new.
Could I have egg, sausage, chips and beans, and a tea? I don't think the equipment could take over. We do rely on it a lot. I mean, we couldn't do what we do as we do it without it. We could still do a good, entertaining musical show, I suppose, without it. But all those things are down to how you control them and whether you're controlling them and not the other way around. It's just a question of using the tools that are available when they're available. And more now, there's all kinds of electronic goodies which are available for people like us to use. I mean, it's all extensions of what's coming out of our heads. I mean, you've got to remember that you've got to have it inside your head to be able to get it out at all anyway. I mean, the equipment isn't actually thinking of what to do any of the time. It couldn't control itself. Can I put this down? Just a second. Okay. It's like saying, give a man a Les Paul guitar and he becomes Eric Clapton, you know? And it's not true. And give a man an amplifier and a synthesizer and he doesn't become whoever either. He doesn't become us.
I was in the studio for 24 hours and I studied missing lessons at my fashion university, and my parents was like, if you fail, you don't come back. They didn't think and they didn't understand the music was a safe carrier, but I was keep on making music. When you see a young girl coming from fashion, a lot of people think that you're not real and they don't take you seriously, and maybe they think that you just won't pay. But I will keep on going and going and going. The more gigs I do, the more places I go, more people I meet. In the end, I won't have to prove anything because I strongly believe that people will know.